Welcome, 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 everybody. It is Sunday, noon p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time it happens to be where you are, because you are watching us right now, May 17th, and it is time for The Master's Mind. It's a great message that we share with everybody in Unlimited Wisdom or maybe elsewhere, and a great way to finish the previous week or start the new week. Either way, however you view Sunday. Some people view it Monday through Sunday, other people view it Sunday through Saturday. Either way, it's a great message that we share with our Unlimited Wisdom community and sometimes beyond. So, we're just glad to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Let's not wait. Let's get to the Master's Mind. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for our GPS to success, our incredible friend, guide, mentor, Robert Hollis.
Greg, the hostess with the mostest, thank you so much for all you do. I love and appreciate you so much, and thank you for doing that. So, hi, Eric, Dustin, Mary, excuse me. They moved around, okay? Dustin, Mary, Shelley, Deborah, Melody, Faith, Eric, Lisa Marie, and Arthur. So, thank you guys so much. I love you guys and appreciate you, the Unlimited Wisdom family and community. So in Master's Mind, the whole thing for me is just to consistently share some things with you that really has impacted me and got my head out there a little bit as far as my relationship with a higher power. And one of the things that I love most about learning, I gotta say, I'm one of those people that is just, I am just so addicted, totally addicted to learning. You know what I mean? Hi, Sandy. Hi, Jim. And when you get that addicted to learning, one of the things that I've seen people do all the time is a lot of people always ask me, what do you do for fun? Robert, what's your hobbies? What's your stuff that you do for fun? And it would be two of them that are consistently tied. One is helping people, and the other one is learning. And so, what's really unique about that, it seems like the majority of people that I say that to look at that as a job. Like helping people is supposed to be a job. That's something that would that you work hard. And I'm like, what? Because the joy that I get and the fulfillment that I get out of helping other people get to where they're going, right? And so some of the stuff when I learned, Craig and I talked about this a couple of days ago, but it's like, it's so neat to have stuff like, Google, you know what I mean? And then also AIs that I use where I can constantly check facts. And this is something that I've always wanted to do. But I started watching the series Chosen. And I don't know how many of you guys have watched that series. And I got through the whole series. And the first thing that I can say to all of you is I would highly suggest that you watch it. And the reason why is how many people have seen Forrest Gump? Okay. Sandy, you haven't seen Forrest Gump? One of the best movies ever, man. It just really is one of my favorite movies because, the way that Tom Hanks plays Forrest Gump, and for those of you that haven't seen it, is Forrest Gump in the movie's a little slow. And not only is he a little slow, but when the movie first starts out, he has braces on his legs, right? And so what ends up happening is because of this guy's consciousness, right? Which he's really slow. He's just super kind. And as he's kind, he consistently goes the extra mile. And the other thing that he does is he's constantly serving a group of people. So he starts out, young in life, gets into the military, and through the military, he's playing ping pong, and then there's, then all of a sudden he just decides to run across the United States. But if you watch Forrest Gump, the thing that just is really, really amazing is the way that I've looked at a lot of people that are like, I don't want to be offensive to anyone, but it's sort of like, what's a better way to say, a child has like it's like they're mongoloids or
Autistic?
well, I wouldn't say autistic because there's so many different spectrums of that, but you can tell by their face that they got one gene that's off or something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Special
guys
needs,
know who?
maybe.
Huh?
Special needs, maybe.
Oh, Down syndrome.
Downs
Down
or
syndrome.
downs,
Thank you
yeah.
very much, Lisa Marie. And one of the favorite scenes that I always see with Down syndrome is this kid that has Down syndrome, he must be like 6 or 7, and he's sitting on his dad's shoulders, right? And a professional basketball player is walking off the court going to his deal. And you know the way fans are. Some fans are just really, really stupid. They're grabbing on you or doing whatever. And you've seen him, and all of a sudden, this Down syndrome boy reaches out and grabs his jersey. And when he grabs his jersey, you can see immediately on the basketball player's face is how freaking dare you? You know what I mean? Why can't so he turns around to confront the whoever's grabbing out his jersey, and he turns around and sees the smile of this Down syndrome child, and you could see he just freaking melted, and melted. So then what he did is he got closer to the boy, and and I don't remember if he took his jersey off and gave it to him or whatever, but it was like, man, to see someone change their energy and who they are that fast, and we've all seen stuff like this. But the reason I brought up Forrest Gump is Forrest Gump was also a best-selling book. So for those of you that have seen Forrest Gump, do you think that you could have got as much out of it by just reading the book? Or do you guys think the movie would have probably been another good one as well, right? And so one of the reasons that I say that is watching Chosen for me is actually stories that are in the Bible that brings them to life, right? You're watching this and it's like it sort of brings them to life. So the way that I love seeing that and feeling it, and then also really, really getting into it. Hi, Corky Sanda. Hi, Deborah Bronner. Is one of the things that I seen these dates. So these dates. So you guys are going to crack up because some of you already know it all, and I don't. So I'm watching, and all of a sudden I was telling Craig this, that all of a sudden it was saying, 26 AD. You know what I mean? And I was going 26 AD because this is what I heard. If I heard it, then it's got to be true, right? Have you guys ever figured out that you figure out something, you go, wait a minute. And Eric, thank you for putting that after death, right? So I'm looking at that and I thought BC meant before Christ and then AD meant after death, right? So I'm watching this and I'm watching Jesus doing things on 26 AD. So Eric, I have a question for you. If it's after death, why is he walking? Why is he alive during that time? You there?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's because he was resurrected.
No, he wasn't resurrected till after 33.
Oh, I didn't think about. I don't know.
So
That's true.
people that I know that they know that they know and it's like AD stands for after death. Does anybody else? Thank you, Eric. Does anybody else want to guess? It's like, so I'm looking here. Okay, Lisa Marie says right, and so I'll share my deal here. So I'm going on, and this is the question that I asked. I asked, I'm watching Chosen, and since I'm watching Chosen, they talk about AD, and AD stands for
Anno Domini.
Did you guys hear that? Anno Domini.
Anno Domini.
And Anno Domini stands for in the year of the Lord. In the year of the Lord.
Anno Domini.
So, how many of you right now went, whoa? And so, it's crazy to me that I'm 64 years old and someone says, well, what's AD versus BC? Well, BC is before Christ and AD is after death. And I'm watching a movie that is showing a time of 26 AD and Jesus is walking around with a bunch of people and doing. So why do I bring this up? I bring this up is I love learning, but I also like discovering the truth because the truth will set you free. See, there's some people that, man, if I wanted to bet them money on that, they would have said, it stands for after death. So I used to say this statement. I used to say, man, a lot of people out there in the world feel they're important, right? But I know as important and as much as you do, they're not changing the calendar for you. There's not a group of people that are standing up and going, listen, from now on, it's gonna be saying after Eric, or what's so. So think about the kind of impact that you had to make in the time. So why was the calendar changed? The calendar was changed because of the birth of Jesus. Okay, so for those of you so there's little things like that when you watch The Chosen. Another one that I shared with Craig is it was really, really crazy for me because I've always heard of Mary Magdalene, right? And just how committed she was to Jesus, and she was always there, even around people that were chosen as disciples that Jesus said, follow me. But you find out immediately, and we've talked about this many times, how many people do you believe that Jesus said, follow me, and didn't? So what you do is you see a lot of people that Jesus says to them, follow me, and they don't, right? But 12 or 13 say that they'll follow him, right? So one of them was a Pharisee. Me and Craig, I was like, Pharisee? Pharisees are Egyptian leaders. And so Craig gets this look on his face, and he immediately, I see him, I can hear like the keyboard strumming in the back. And all of a sudden Craig does the dog look, where you kick your head a little sideways. And he's going, wow, Jewish leaders were called Pharisees as well. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you go, wow, all of a sudden, when I read the Bible, it always would talk about Jewish leaders as being elders. So every time it talked about a Pharisee, I'm going like, well, the Pharisees are in Egypt. What is Jewish elders doing there, including Pharisees? No, Pharisees would be like a position of like vice presidents and that corporate structure. They'd be the people that are directly above the head dude, the CEO, right? And so I was sharing with Craig that that they set it up in the movie that that Nostradamus, this Pharisee, this head Jew, tried to cure Mary,
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus, because Mary was Lillian or Lilia, and she was full of demons. And so he went there to try to do an exorcist to get these demons out, and it didn't work. So you find out later that this girl, of course, meets Jesus outside of a tavern, and Jesus lays hands on her, and she immediately is healed, and now she's Mary, right? So I go, man, I've never read that story. And the reason I bring it up is because when Nicodemus heard that someone had healed her, he immediately wanted to know who. And then he set up a meeting through Mary to meet with Jesus. And now you got like a top person in the Jewish belief talking to Jesus. And I know that I probably have shared the scene before, but if you go online and put in, Jesus talking to, say it again, Craig?
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus. It's one of the most impactful deals, because what he explains to him is the logic between the spirit. So he's trying to understand, what are you talking about? And of course, imagine if you never heard this before. And he goes, well, Jesus is going, you see Jesus having difficulty explaining, but he's confident. So he says, well, it's like being reborn again. And Nicodemus jokes and says, well, my mom's not alive, so am I supposed to be reborn coming out of the womb? I'm in trouble if she's because he's pretty old in this part, right? And then he says, no, he said, and all of a sudden you've seen Jesus stop and he goes, I want you to be quiet and listen. What do you hear? And he goes, I hear wind. And he goes, where's the wind coming from? He goes, I don't know. Where's the wind going? I don't know. And he goes, that's like the spirit. You need to learn, instead of using the law and logic, you got to learn to follow the spirit, what's within your heart. And it's like a really clear definition, and you can tell that it really touched him. And he was the one that Jesus said to him, listen, it doesn't make a difference of your age and your status. You should follow me. And he was one of the people that chose not to follow. And if you watch the series, he's really, really heartbroken when he makes that decision. But he leaves him a big bag of gold. So why am I bringing up this little story? Then I research. And nowhere in the Bible did it say that this Pharisee tried to do an exorcism on Mary and failed. You see what I mean? So I know that movies, just like if you read the Forrest Gump book and could memorize it, and then you watch the movie, I'm sure in the movie there's a lot of, what I would talk about, give and take. You know what I mean? You want to make a really good story, right? There's a scene in Forrest Gump where he's just running. They ask him why he's running, and he said, I'm just running, and so and so a guy hands him a T-shirt because a vehicle went by and splashed mud on him. And so he's running, and a guy hands him a T-shirt, and he puts the T-shirt on his face and hands him back to him, and it looks like a smiley face. So that's where the smiley face came from. Don't you guys know that the circle with the smiley face? And a guy decided to put that on a T-shirt, and then he became a multimillionaire. And that was because Forrest Gump did that. I don't know if that's a true story. But again, a little stretch, Matt calls it all the time, a little bit of a suspended belief, right? That you can actually enjoy something by suspending your belief. And so, of course, one of the things that I'm really enjoying about this series is throughout the series, we always hear this phrase, what would Jesus do? Right? And so through the series, the thoughtfulness, the peace, the kindness, not even talking about the miracles, the thoughtfulness. You constantly see Jesus going through these things where there's a lot of people that get upset and flustered and confused and all of this stuff around Jesus. But through the series, he's always got it nailed down. He's calming people down. They're going, well, this person, you shouldn't be getting close to this person, or you shouldn't talk to the person. So for those of you know that, Jesus did a lot of miracles. Of course, when they seen the guy with leprosy, he came to Jesus because he had heard that Jesus healed people. And of course, when all the disciples seen that, they immediately ran away and went like this with their shirt, so they don't make sure to breathe the same air. And they were telling him to get away. And Jesus looked at him and said, what we would say in this day and age, like, calm down. Stop, again, I don't know how many of you have heard this, but one of the most said words and phrases in the Bible over 365 times, and a lot of people say that's because there's 365 days, is the consistent phrase of fear not. Fear not. Stop fearing. Fear not. And so, of course, Jesus walks right up to him. And you can see now the guy's scared. He wants to be healed, but he's scared that Jesus is going to get sick. And Jesus is like, nah, I got this, and puts his hand on his neck, and starts hugging them. And of course, you watch all the sores go away right there, And so the reason that I brought that up is not that some of you are going to go into the ministry of healing and start walking around and making miracles and healing people, right? Because every gift that is for us is there based on our faith. A lot of people don't know that disciples actually healed people, did lots of miracles. So I share this with you only one thing is if you consistently educate yourself, for me, I'm just saying me, right? There's a lot of people that want to do a lot of things. And for me at 64, and I've had this a long time in my life, I really can't think of anything for me to learn and read and listen and build this closer relationship with what I call my Lord and Savior, Jesus, right? And I think it's very interesting that I'm learning stuff, and then I'm also getting exposed to stuff that is not true. Are you guys following me? So to think that I feel like I thought this thought today, and it's all about ego, right? We always want to kill the ego. Hi, Raymond. And sometimes I have these thoughts, sometimes a lot. I just want to be bold with you guys. Is because of my discipline of listening to the washed by the word. And this morning was like a little better morning than most, because I probably listened to 2 hours of worship this morning. I was just some of you, I sent a music audio. I sent it to Craig, and that one rocked me this morning. My face was in my hands. I was bawling as hard as I've ever bawled. And because when I listen to that song, it just immediately is like, I believe in you. I got you. And when I did that, I had people reach out to me immediately and went, perfect timing, perfect timing. Thank you. I needed to hear. And one of them is all of you can think a little nice thing, but Coach Bob, they lost their dog last night, and so he just said that it started going into seizures, and then when they took it to the vet, they couldn't stop the seizures. And so he's beside himself. And so I had to tell him, I said, man, you want to talk to my daughter-in-law, Hannah, and just say, have you ever seen Robert just lose it, and crying? Because she was here when Bo died, her white English golden retriever. And there's nobody in the family that cried harder than me. And I always tell people the reason that I'm able to do that is because what if you allowed, that would be the word. I feel like I'm using some stuff I'm learning from Sandy. It's like people might have difficulty crying and releasing something like that because just on a day-to-day basis, you're not imagining it and you're not looking at it as something to release. You know what I mean? So, as a male, I'm brought up through the world as like, listen, you cry, I'll give you something to cry about, and it's all around weakness and you're a wussy and on and on and on and on. And so for my sons and of course my wife, but people that are very, very close to me, and you guys have been very, very dear to me, your family, and to think how vulnerable you got to be to cry in front of people that might look at you and respect you, right? They're following you because you're supposed to be a teacher and a mentor, and if you allow yourself to be human, I think that strengthens that relationship. It's like I don't know, but the one thing that I like I said, I'm just addicted to learning. And a lot of people have told me that these things with Chosen were really good. And I've never taken the time to watch movies like the Ten Commandments and the stuff that, I know the people that did it, but it's like for people to go out of their way to feel inspired enough to do the Passion of the Christ. You know what I mean? I told you guys I watched that again. And wow, you know what I mean? It's just like, so you watch that. And then when I say the prayer to myself, by his stripes, I'm well and I am whole. And a visual comes in my head. It makes it a little more real for me. Not a little, a lot. Or thank you for dying for my sins. It's like, whoa, that vision comes in your head. But that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I believe I know. As I continue watching and figuring out stuff, I always like learning stuff. If people that are really, really, really close to me knows that there's a phrase that I don't say much anymore, and maybe I should. But the phrase is, and every time I look for it, the person that said this phrase was Robert Hollis. Has come back that far. But the phrase is if what you know that you know that you know is for real, and it's not, when would you like to know? And of course, you guys know that story came from Roger Penske of asking me, how do you know that? How do you know that? And it always comes from a very playful place of, it's like, it's the stuff that you think and the stuff that you say and the stuff that you believe. Is it really, really, really true? Because if you push on it and the truth will set you free, and then you find the truth, what it does is it rocks you to the core. It rocks you to the spirit, and for me, in a good way. Like 26 AD. Well, AD stands for after death. Then why am I watching something in 26 AD and Jesus is walking around with all his people around him? like it's like something's not measuring up here, right? And now I ask myself and ask you guys this question. If you really never heard the real meaning to AD, then that means that all of you believed similar to me about AD, after death. So this is not only an idea that got out, but the idea went out to a lot of people that repeated that. Do you guys believe that a lot of you have heard stuff from people that are repeated that is just straight out a lie? So why wouldn't you want to find out what's the truth? So how many times do you think that while I'm having a good discussion with someone, these people, how many of you run into these people that, man, they know everything? And if you don't believe it, just ask them. They'll tell you they know everything. And you can say to them, oh, really? Yeah. So let me ask you a question. BC, when they show a date and it says BC, what does that stand for? Well, of course, it stands for, before Christ. Okay, so what's AD stand for? How many of you think after death? Now, see, isn't it hilarious? Maybe you guys won't think this is hilarious. But there's just a certain group that goes by that calendar. There's all these Asians that are Buddhist that their calendar is probably now in the 7,000s. See what I mean? No one got to the almost 2 billion Buddhists and let them know that they needed to change their calendar and start over. Hindus, Jewish people. So Jewish people are like, well, we don't quote any dates as being after death. That must be for a different group of people. Craig, since I brought that up, it's sort of like the Jewish dates. What is the date right now for the Jewish people?
The Jewish calendar year is at 5,786.
5,786. So how would you like to be in a group of people that believe different when people say, well, this is going to be a great year. 2026 is going to be an awesome year. And there's billions of people on the planet that go, should we tell them that it's a different year? No, they just don't say anything. That's crazy, isn't it?
And what's interesting is the Jewish calendar it's 5,786 AM, Anno Mundi, Latin for the year, or for in the year of the world.
In the year of the world.
Yes.
Thank you, Craig, for sharing that. How many of you now that know that AD from Latin, Anno Domini, how many of you are okay with saying, well, what does that mean in Latin? The year of the Lord. So now we get to go back and just, add what Eric did, right? If 2026 is also in the year of the Lord, then I'm thinking for people that believe that Jesus rose again, then why not just celebrate his birth and then every year after that is in the year of the Lord? What would be in the year of the Lord 33? And then when he was crucified and rose again, that was within 3 days. So then it would be 34 AD. So 33, 32, and 30 and 40 is all in the year in the Lord, including 2026 is in the year of the Lord. So how do you guys like that? The little lesson today. All right, you guys, I love and appreciate you so much. And God bless you and yours. And say a little prayer for Bob. And I thank each and every one of you for jumping on here, having a very blessed Sunday. So thank you, Jim, Raymond, Shelley, Deborah, Corky, Mary, Melody, Faith, Dustin. Man, Dustin, have you lost like 70 pounds or something? It's like you're looking good, brother. Michael and Angela, Deborah, Sandy, Eric, Lisa Marie, and Arthur, and of course the hostess with the mostest, Craig Jackman.